Hello, this video is a calm step-by-step review of the most important Algebra 1 topics you'll see on a Semester 1 midterm or exam. So we're going to focus on how problems actually appear on tests. I want you to pause the video anytime and try a similar problem before moving on if you choose to do so. With that, let's go ahead and get started by simplifying this first expression. Now, remember, when simplifying expressions, we distribute first, then combine like terms. So what we have to do here is multiply this 3 by both terms inside the parentheses. And so that gives us 6x minus 15, and bring everything else down, plus 4x minus 7. Okay, so now we're going to combine like terms. So we'll go ahead and combine 6x plus 4x, which gives us 10x. And then we have negative 15 and negative 7. So negative 15 plus negative 7 is negative 22. The final answer is 10x minus 22. A common mistake here is forgetting to distribute to both terms. So make sure when you get this type of problem, you work at it slowly and methodically. So let's go ahead and move on to simplifying the square root of 36x squared. Just consider what number times itself equals 36. Well, that is 6. And then what variable times itself is x squared? And that is x. Because 6 times 6 is 36, and x times x is x squared. So the final answer here is 6x. Now we're going to move on to solving equations and inequalities. So here we are solving an equation and inequality. So solving this equation, the ultimate goal is to isolate x. So here we have 3x minus 4 on the left. I want to get rid of that negative 4 so I can move it. I can move it to the right side, but in order to do that, I need to add 4. So I'll add 4 on the left and on the right. Here on the left, we're left with 3x because negative 4, positive 4 cancel out. And we set this equal to 2x plus 11 because 7 plus 4 is 11. Again, the ultimate goal is to isolate x. I see that I can move 2x to the other side, so I can do that by subtracting 2x from the right and from the left. As you can see, we're left with x. It's 1x, but it's understood that we don't need to place a 1 in front of the x. So x equals 2x minus 2x is simply 0, and we're left with x equals 11. That's the final answer. I want you to always check your solution. I won't do that here, but where you see x in the whether you're plugging it back into the original equation or this equation here, they both sides should equal to each other. Okay, so now let's go ahead and solve the inequality. Again, the ultimate goal is to isolate x. We have a positive 5 on the left side of the inequality symbol, so we can move that to the right side. We can do that by subtracting 5 from the left and from the right. When we do that, we are left with negative 2x plus 5 minus 5 cancel out. Bring down your greater than or equal to sign and subtract 5 from 5 from 9, that gives you 4. So now, again, we have to isolate this x. We see that we have a coefficient of negative 2. Therefore, we're going to divide by -2 on both sides of the inequality. This is where you have to be very careful because since we're dividing by a negative number, which is -2, we have to flip the inequality. So that greater than or equal to is going to become less than or equal to. So of course we see here that the -2's cancel out. We're left with x is less than or equal to -2. Final answer. Now, if you have to graph this, then remember you will have a closed dot and you will be shading to the left. So let me show you that visually. So let's say you have -2, and since x is less than or equal to -2, we have a closed dot, and you're going to shade to the left. Okay, so now we're going to move on to solving linear functions. Here we have to write the equation of the line with slope -2 passing through 3, 1. So we have the slope of -2 passing through 3, 1. The first step we want to take here is to write this in point slope form. Point slope form is simply y minus y sub 1 equals m, which is your slope, times the quantity x minus x sub 1. So we have everything that we need here, and all we're doing is plugging in those values. So we have y minus y sub 1 is given to us as 1. That's equal to m, which is given to us as -2, times the quantity x minus x sub 1 is given to us as 3. So as you take a look here, we have to distribute on the right hand side. So we have -2 that's being distributed to each term within the parentheses, to the x as well as to the -3. So let's bring everything down here and solve. Y minus 1 equals, and then -2 distributed to x is -2x. And -2 being distributed to -3 is +6. So now the ultimate goal here is to isolate y. We have a -1, so we have to move it to the other side, but we do that by adding 1 to both sides on the left and on the right. Notice that the -1 and +1 cancel out. We're left with y equals -2x plus 6 plus 1 is +7. So we have the equation y equals -2x plus 7. I also want you to notice that the slope is -2. The y-intercept is 7. All right, so you can type this into decimals and you can confirm that this equation is true, right? So let's take a look here. I see that 3, 1 does lie on the line, as you can see here. And you also see that we have the y-intercept of 7 because x is 0 and 7 is the y-intercept. So that means that this equation, y equals -2x plus 7, is the final answer. So with that, we're going to move on to systems of equations. Here we have a systems of equations. Notice we have y equals -2x plus 7 and y equals 3x minus 1. They're both set to the same variable, which means that we can set -2x plus 7 to 3x minus 1 to solve for x. Let's go ahead and do that. We have -2x plus 7 set equal to 3x minus 1. So what we're going to do here is add 2x to both sides. So we'll add 2x to the left and to the right. When we do that, we notice that the negative 2x and positive 2x cancel out. We're left with 7 on the left equals 3x plus 2x is 5x. And bring down your minus 1. So again, the ultimate goal is to isolate x. So we can get rid of the negative 1 by adding 1 to the right and to the left. 7 plus 1 is 8. Set that equal to 5x. Notice the negative 1 and positive 1 cancel out. We have 8 equals 5x. Well, we can take and divide by 5 on both sides to isolate that x. And you see here that the 5's cancel out on the right. And we have solved for x. So x equals 8/5 or 8/5 equals x. So since we solved for x, we can go back to the original equations. You can choose one or the other, either this top one or the bottom one. I'm going to use the bottom one, and I'm going to place 8/5 where we have this x. Let's go ahead and do that. And so that is y equals 3 times 8/5 minus 1. So you can see here that we have the whole number of 1 is the same as if you wanted to write this over 1. So you can see what's going on. And you're going to multiply across the numerator and across the denominator. Okay, so let's go ahead and do that. So 3 times 8 in the numerator is 24, and 1 times 5 in the denominator is 5, so y equals 24/5 minus 1. But I'm going to use a different form of 1 in which has a common denominator of 5, because when you are subtracting fractions, you have to have common denominators. So that means I will turn this into 5/5, which is a different form of 1. So notice we have the same denominator of 5. Now all you have to do is subtract across the numerators. 24 minus 5 is 19. So y equals 19/5. So here the solution to a system is the ordered pair that satisfies both equations. So x equals 8/5 and y equals 19/5. And that's the final answer. But I also want you to see that you can verify this in decimals, which is something that I've done here. And take a look here. Where you see this black dot, well, the two lines are intersecting. So we have the red line and the green line. So 1.6 is representative of 8/5 and 3.8 is representative of 19/5. Okay, the only thing that's different is that those were divided, okay, leaving you a decimal. But this is the final answer. So the solution is the point where the two lines intersect. So let's go ahead and move on to functions basics. Here is the functions basics. As you can see, we have f of x equals 2x minus 1, and we need to find f of 4. So just remember, f of 4 simply means replace x with 4. So let's go ahead and do that. So we have f of 4 then, and set that equal to 2 times 4 minus 1. So here, all you're doing is multiplying 2 times 4, which is 8, and 8 minus 1 is equal to 7. So f of 4, so I'll just say f of 4 equals 7. All right. And so what does this mean? Well, the value of the function at 4 is 7. So let's take a look at this in decimals. So I've already placed this inside of decimals. So as you can see here, we have the point at 4, 7. So this is 5, so going up 2 more is 7. So 7 is right there. Okay, so this tells us that this point shows the output when x equals 4. And so this is our final answer. F of 4, and let me just box that in, equals 7. All right, and so let's go ahead and move on to an intro to statistics problem. Here is the statistics intro. I will start by saying that statistics questions are usually about interpreting data, not long calculations. So here we have a scatter plot that came from this table of values here. And each dot in a scatter plot represents a data point. So we see those right here. These are all representative of the data points that you see in this table here. And when the points trend upward from left to right, we say there is a positive correlation. And the line of best fit shows the overall trend of the data, even though it does not pass through every point. So you see that this line does not pass through every point. And this point here, which is at 620, which also comes from here on the table, that's an outlier. And outliers affect the mean much more than the median does, so the median is usually a better measure of the typical center. So with that, I wish you the best of luck. I hope you do well, and as always, keep practicing and stay tuned for more calm, clear math lessons right here on Math by TV.